Hey, what is up, everybody? Kevin here from SnowboardProCamp. Going to be on here for the next hour to talk to you guys about snowboarding and also answer all your snowboard questions. Definitely hit me up with any question you have about anything to do with snowboarding, from beginner progression all the way through snowboard tricks. And yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well out there. In the comments too, let me know where you guys are watching from, because it's always amazing to see where everyone's watching from in the world. And yeah, it'd be great to hear too what your local resort is up to. I know it's kind of a crazy time in the world at the moment. So some of us, the snow's gone, but for other people, the snow is just arriving. And I know some people have indoor slopes as well. So it'd be great to hear where you guys are from, what your snowboarding situation is like. I'm in Whistler, BC, Canada, and at the moment, we do still have quite a bit of snow on the mountains. The resort is closed, but we're doing some hikes up into the Alpine. A few videos ago, got to do a hike with Andreas, and we hiked to the top of the mountain near my neighborhood called Rainbow Mountain. And tomorrow, we're actually doing another hike to the top of a mountain called Sprout. So looking forward to doing that tomorrow. So yeah, great to be on here with you guys. Gonna check in with the comments. A few shout outs to some people that are already on here with us. We got El Stacker, Boredom, Lucas, Highland Cow, Old Man Shredder, Skylar Fong, Catherine Smith. Yeah, shout out to everyone for tuning in early. If you guys get a chance to, give this video a like and also subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so that you get notified every time I go live. And new setup today, so I've got a new background and a new sort of like studio setup here for the live chat. So yeah, if you guys like the new setup, maybe give the video a like as well. Just trying to put together the best sounding and looking live chat for you guys. So yeah, I hope if you guys like it, give the video a like. But yeah, let's see who's some people in the comments in the chat are letting us know where they're watching from. So we got Caitlin watching from Illinois, Evan from Canada, Pedro from Mexico, Awesome Mac watching from Washington, Sean from Houston, Haney from Wisconsin in the US, Ian watching from London, and I guess shout out to everyone in Europe. I know it's late for you guys, so everyone in Europe, thank you guys for staying up late. AJ is watching from Lake Tahoe. And Evan says, literally all year snow in Canada. I wish. We definitely, in Canada, there is that stereotype that the snow just stays all year long, but we do lose the snow. It's actually, I think, we do have glaciers too, so like you can go up on the glaciers, but actually some of the best summer snowboarding is in Oregon in the US, at Mount Hood, and it's surprisingly pretty far north compared to like most of Canada is actually further south than Portland. The majority of like the population lives in Ontario, and it's kind of far south compared to some of the other states. So some of the best snow is in the US through the summer. All right, and yeah, thanks again everyone for tuning in. Lucas saying nice backdrop. Thanks, man. Highland Cow saying loving the background. Thank you, man. And Orland's watching from Snohomish, Washington. Love getting down to Washington for snowboarding as well. Billy saying the background looks sick. Thank you, man. And Grant Christopher saying, hey, Kevin, I was able to get a day at Timberline on Mount Hood this week. Way stoked on that since I thought I was done for the season. Yeah, that's amazing to hear, man. So yeah, a couple mountains opened in Oregon just a few days ago. So Timberline over at Mount Hood near Portland there, and also Mount Bachelor opened as well. So if you guys are in Oregon and you got to go snowboarding this past week, that's amazing. Stavros48 saying, hi, Kev in New Zealand here. What's up, New Zealand? Says, hey, I was wondering, do you ever ride 153 Orca anymore? And does the 156 interest you? As I know, it wasn't available when you got the 159. Yeah, so when I got the 153 Orca, it was because that was like the only Orca available to me. So this past year, I rode the 159. The 153 was really good. It was really fun to ride. I'm 185 pounds, so it was like I was on the bigger end of that snowboard, but it was still really fun to ride. And this year, I rode the 159, and I think the 159, not only for my weight, but also for my skill, was like the better board, because with a bigger board, it's going to be more stable, especially when you're riding at really high speeds. But then the trade-off is it's not going to be like as nimble and as quick to maneuver. But for me, like riding at a higher level, I definitely felt like the 159 was like the perfect size for me. I'd probably recommend it to more of an intermediate rider to go for maybe a smaller board, just because it's easier to maneuver, quick turns through trees and that. But for me, the 159 was awesome. But it's a wide board, so you can get away with riding a really short size in a board like the Orca, or other volume shifted boards. You can ride them smaller. So yeah, make the call for you. If you're look at your weight, look at your skill level. I would say the less you weigh and the lower your skill level, the smaller the board, and the higher your skill level and the more you weigh, you can definitely get away with a bigger board. So yeah, good question, man. Old Man Shredder is saying the background is killer. Thanks, dude. Yeah, appreciate it. And Evan asking, how are you, Kevin? Yeah, doing good. Doing really good. Went for a pretty intense hike, like I guess it was almost a week ago. It was like the Friday after the last live chat. And yeah, it was pretty intense. It was, I definitely jumped back into like big physical activity quickly. Like the quarantine has definitely made me a little bit lazy, not being as active as I usually am. But yeah, the hike was really fun, and I was a bit sore afterwards, so I took a couple of days just to take it easy. But yeah, it's been a good week. But looking forward to things going back more to normal. But yeah, just doing good, planning hikes and snowboard adventures, and yeah, tomorrow should be a fun one too. Kyle saying, what's your go-to board and setup for it? Good question. So tomorrow, I think we're going to be doing snowshoes, and ideally I want to be riding a paddleboard. I actually, in storage, I've got my 153 Orca. So I may pull that out, 153 Orca, maybe with some stiffer bindings. So the Now Drive bindings are a stiffer one that I have. So I might throw the Now Drives onto my 53 Orca. Should be really good for some alpine and tree riding. But at the moment, I don't have like a go-to setup, just because the season's kind of over. I've been had a couple great setups over this past winter, but looking forward to trying out some new boards as well. Mac with a good question says, what would you say is the hardest thing to overcome when learning a new trick? I would say that the hardest thing to overcome is the commitment to doing it, like fully committing like that first time. So I feel like when you're learning a new trick, sometimes you're a bit hesitant. For example, if like you're going for your first 360 on a jump, you may do, like for me, I'll do like a bunch of 180s, and I'm like kind of thinking like, it's like committing to just going for that first three and just to see what it feels like, because it can be a bit scary, the unknown of what something's going to be. But then I usually find that when I commit to something, even though the first time I fully commit and try it, it may not work out perfectly, but then you get that like sense of how it's going to feel. And then so the next time you have more confidence just to go for it. So I think with any new trick, even when it's like coming back to tricks the next season, getting comfortable with the tricks you can already do, it's just like having that confidence to really fully attempt something. So if you're going for, say, for example, a grab you've never done, it's, for the first few times you try, you may go for the grab, but you don't fully commit and you don't get it. But then it's like that one decision where you're like, I'm fully going to commit to it this time. It's, that's the hardest part, is just deciding in your head that you're going to fully commit. And usually the first time, sometimes it goes well, sometimes it just is a bit sketchy, but then it gives you that feeling that next time you can, you've gotten over that hurdle of fully committing. All right. And Old Man Shredder with his first super chat. Shout out to Old Man Shredder. Big thanks. He says, shout out DWCP crew, hashtag mod squad. Tips on back 360s. Awesome. Old Man Shredder. Yeah, good question, man. So I always break down the back 360 into like 3 stages. The first stage is like, so first you want to find like a small sort of like corner side hit to try it on. So if you're goofy, a side hit on your left. If you're regular, then a side hit on your right, because you want to come into the back 3 on a carving toe edge. So being on your toes, carving a line, and that's going to give you like the platform to do the 360 from. Next is like facing your chest forward towards where you're riding. So for the back 3, to create the rotation, you start by facing forward, and then as you pop off the lip, you actually rotate your upper body backwards, and that's what creates that 360 rotation. So that's important to kind of look stacked over your board, chest facing where you're riding to, getting ready to like rotate and turn backwards. And then the third thing, and probably the most important, is getting that clean pop off of both feet, like straight up into the air. So the ones that I do when I like really pop cleanly straight up, those always turn out the best, but it is hard to commit to that like clean pop because you have so many other things you're thinking about. But if you can put those 3 things together, riding in on your toe edge, clean carving line with that platform, getting the wind up ready with your upper body facing forward, ready to wind all the way back, and then getting that clean pop off of both feet, giving you that time in the air to get it. Put those 3 things together and you'll be sweet. And I guess the final thing is just that timing everything together so that everything is working smoothly. So if you find a small side hit to try, then I think you can build up to doing the 3s anywhere. Awesome question, man. Scott wants to know, are the hats in stock? So there's SPC beanies and there's also SPC like hats. Like I've got a hat around here somewhere, but there are hats in stock. There's a link to the beanies below, but I think you can, on Etsy, there's also a link to the hats. I think I can actually grab one. There's one right here. So yeah, we've got these SPC hats as well. So there's a bunch of hats left, only a few beanies, but if you want to, I'm actually going to be ordering a different color beanie shortly. So stay tuned for that for new beanies coming out. All right. And we got another super chat from Joe Kraus. No question or comment, just a $5 super chat. Thanks for the support, Joe. You're awesome, man. Thomas says, what's the perfect board for trees, POW, and groomers? Oh, that's tough. I don't think there's a perfect board that'll do all 3, but you got to decide which one you like the most and get a board that does that well, I think. So for trees, it's like you want a shorter board, something that's like very maneuverable, maybe something with a bit of rocker in it so that you can make quick turns. But then like big open powder fields where you can ride fast, you want like a longer board that has a bit more stability. And groomers is like a third board. So it's tough. It's tough to get the perfect board for all 3. All right. Shout out to Johnny Snipes for tuning in. We got Hetman from Poland. 3 Mizzy saying, what outerwear do you think you will get next year, Kev? So with outerwear, it's all about, for me, it's just like going out, trying things on and seeing what like fits me and is the most comfortable to wear. And the last like handful of years, it's always been Volcom outerwear. So this year, I thought I would so I live here in Whistler, BC. So I'd go through Whistler Village, going through the different snowboard shops and trying to find like outerwear that just like fits me well. And the material is comfortable. I can move around in it very easily, because for snowboarding, you want to make sure that you can, move very, very easily in your outerwear. And I just keep coming back to Volcom because I find that Volcom is light. I like the stretch Gore-Tex. It means that when I'm moving, I can move very, very freely. And just like the cut of the Volcom outerwear is always just like fit my body type very well. So I'm leaning towards, I'll probably be riding something by Volcom next year, but I'm open to I'm always trying on different stuff. For me too, I'm a bit tall and skinny. So I'm usually outerwear that is like that longer skinny fit usually fits me better too. So for whatever reason, Volcom seems to be the one. I've tried on some Burton stuff, but Burton, I think they make their outerwear a little bit shorter. And for me, being like a taller dude, that the shorter sort of cut doesn't quite work. So it'll probably be Volcom, but I'll just see. And it's always fun just trying on different outerwear. Sam Bradbury is saying, hey, Kevin, what bindings would you pair with a Yes Standard? Yeah, good question, man. So the Yes Standard's sort of like a good sort of do everything board. Not too aggressive. I'd say it's like a solid, like intermediate style board. I'd probably go with something like, it kind of depends on what you want to do. If you're into park riding, I would say check out something like the bent metal transfers. I've been riding those on my GNU headspace for the last 7 or 8 months, and I've really enjoyed riding those in the park. So yeah, if you're into park riding, check out something like the Yes transfer bindings. Awesome. Lots of people on here. Lots of good questions, guys. Lucas wanting to know if I still have the BB gun from Big Bear. No, so that was David Jones's BB gun. And we left it. We actually, when we were unloading our rental car, it went into the trash, unfortunately. We couldn't bring a BB gun on the plane with us back to Canada, so it went into the trash. Stevie G saying, hey, Kevin, do you think as a newbie, Burton step-ons could be a good idea, or should I stick with traditional bindings? I would probably recommend just the traditional bindings, unless it's like difficult for you to like do up your bindings, because doing up, I think the performance wise, just in my opinion, I feel like performance wise, if you're going to like learn and progress, the traditional bindings are better for performance. And I think you could run into less issues. Also, the traditional like boot and binding setup is going to be less money. So you can get an inexpensive pair of boots and an inexpensive pair of bindings, put those together, and they may cost you like $300 or $400, like brand new. So compared to the Burton step-ons, where it's probably going to cost you maybe like double that money. So I would, as a newer rider, just stick with an inexpensive boot and binding combo. And then if you like decide that you need something more convenient, or putting your bindings on is just not good and you want to get the more expensive version, I would say maybe do that later on. But starting out, I feel like learning with the traditional straps is the way to go. El Stacker wants to know, any tips for river surfing? Nice, man. Where are you going river surfing? Is there river surfing in Idaho? Because I'll definitely come down and do some with you. Tips for river surfing, like I went river surfing, my only time was in Munich, Germany, and it was like super, super fun. We had like wetsuits on, and we like rented boards from a board shop. I can't remember the name of the place at the moment, but they actually helped us out with boards. I would say the biggest tip is to like watch other people doing it, and get down the technique from like watching first. So like seeing where people are jumping in from, seeing how people are like pressuring their boards, like front foot, back foot, to kind of like stay in the wave. And I don't know, maybe talk to somebody that's like doing it there, because they can sometimes give you some advice for staying on the wave. And also just maybe some of the safety stuff that comes along with like where not to go, what to avoid, and all that kind of thing. So yeah, go down, watch some people, and then maybe ask some people some questions. But yeah, river surfing is super fun. All right. JM saying, hey, Kevin, what's your opinion on the Capita DOA? Capita DOA, yeah, that's a good board. I rode it 2 seasons ago, quite a bit. And I think the Capita DOA is kind of it's like a pretty stable resort board. So for like riding the groomers, things around the resort, but then also in the park, it's kind of like a stiffer park board. I would say it's more of like a high intermediate to low advanced or like advanced park board because of the stiffness. It's not the most friendly board for like doing butters or small tricks. I think if you're like a beginner or intermediate park rider, it's probably too like stiff, and it's better to go with a softer board and a board that has more rocker. But if you're like a high intermediate advanced rider, I think the Capita DOA gives you like good stability, and it's like a consistent resort board. And it's not really great for powder either. I don't think it has any taper, so it's not the best board for powder. But yeah, it's a good stable, high intermediate to advanced park board for sure. Raul saying, hey Kevin, the background is looking great. Awesome. Thank you, Raul. Tomor, thoughts on the Burton Moto boots? I've never ridden them, but I believe that they're like a good sort of like beginner or low intermediate boot. So yeah, maybe try some on, keep them on your feet in the shop, make sure they're comfortable, no weird pressure points. And if that's something that you're looking for, sort of a beginner boot, then it could be the way to go. And people have all kinds of like fun questions today. So Lucas saying, I'm thinking about trying surfing since I live in Southern California. Any tips for a beginner? Yeah, definitely. I would say like, so I learned to surf kind of the hard way. Like I had friends that taught me to surf, and it was really difficult. Like I didn't go to the best beaches, like the most beginner friendly waves. I learned to surf in Australia, and it was pretty tough. And yeah, I had a few close calls where if I could go back now and learn to surf, I would just like take some like beginner lessons. So I would recommend finding some place that gives you like beginner lessons, because they'll take you to like easy waves, and they'll give you advice on what board to get and like show you all the proper technique. So I would definitely take a lesson as a beginner for sure. Sam saying, what's your top 3 picks for all mountain bindings? Nice, man. So I would say my top 3 picks, all mountain bindings. I really like the Union Atlas. I really like the Now Drive. And honestly, those are my top 2. I don't think I have a third. Those 2 really stand out as good bindings. Emil wants to know, how is the corona situation in Canada? Do you think it will have any effect on the winter season? Love your videos. Awesome. Thank you, Emil. To be honest, I'm not sure how it's going to affect the next winter season. I think mountain biking in Whistler is maybe going to be put on hold for the time being, which is pretty wild because mountain biking is so huge in Whistler, and it may be put on hold. I don't know if they're going to have a mountain bike season. And yeah, I guess it's going to depend on what happens with the virus over next like fall. But I hope that things go back to normal. I think in BC, so I'm in the province of BC in Canada, and I believe that we are like on the down slope of the curve, and I think there's only like a few new cases a day, and there may be like under 300 cases in all of BC. But yeah, I feel like overall we're pretty good. Like things are going back to normal, businesses are opening, and people are still doing all the distancing stuff. But I feel like things are going somewhat back to normal, but it's kind of strange because we're a resort town and we depend a lot on workers to come from overseas. And at the moment, nobody can travel into Canada. So it's kind of a strange situation. All right. Yeah. And so Alex saying, "Hi Kevin, hope you're keeping busy and safe. Do you change your technique for skating around in spring? My board floats, but my foot sinks in the slush." Yeah, good question, man. Yeah, the slushy snow definitely makes you do everything a little bit differently. My skating technique probably stays the same, but it's just harder in the spring with all the slushy snow. So yeah, try to glide more, try to keep your free foot in the middle of your board so it doesn't sink. But yeah, aim for the snow that doesn't look as slushy and as kind of soupy. And yeah, there's nothing much you can do. It's more work in the spring in the slush, but you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it for sure. Lucas wants to know, is that a split board behind you? Yeah, so that is my split board. It's the Jones Solution. And yeah, it's a great split board. It's got all the tech I like. So it's got the magnet traction down the center of the board when it's together. So it's actually like holding the board together better, the split. And yeah, then when you split it apart, you've got the magnet traction on the outside of the skis so that as you're hiking, you have some extra grip on that too. But yeah, the Jones Solution, I think, yeah, it's been a great split board. But lately I've actually been doing more hiking with snowshoes because I find that with snowshoes, they're a bit more versatile when the snow conditions are a bit more variable. So I think split boards are perfect for when the snow is like deep and powdery and consistent for for walking and hiking long distances. But when you're hiking a mountain and the snow conditions are constantly changing, that can be like really difficult on a split board. Where with snowshoes, you can definitely get through some of it. Just more more easy with snowshoes. They're a bit more versatile. And Old Man Shredder with another super chat asking, any chance of a skate vid with Jill again soon? Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, definitely. So I haven't been out skateboarding yet this summer, but I'll have to get on the skateboard. I'm sure Jill will want to get on it as well. She's she's actually like a really good natural skateboarder, snowboarder. She has just really good natural balance. So I think Jill will have some fun on a skateboard for sure. Tomer asking, are stomp pads worth it? Definitely. Yeah, I think stomp pads are worth it. Even in the times that I don't have a stomp pad, there's always like one or two times a season that I definitely wish I had a stomp pad just to put my foot on something. It just makes like riding with one foot easier. So I think, yeah, stomp pads are definitely worth it. I always try to have some kind of stomp pad. Sometimes I don't, but that's just because I forgot to put one on. But yeah, for 1 foot riding, stomp pads definitely make it easier. Tim Ho says, hey, Kevin, did you get rid of your Orca? Are you going to get the 2021 version? So with my 2020 Orca, there was a part of the board that was like splitting apart. So I actually warrantied it. I sent it into LibTech for a warranty, and they got back to me and they're going to send me a 2021 board. So I guess that's like answers your question in terms of like, I guess I kind of did get rid of my 2020 Orca. I sent it back to them. So I won't have the 2021 anymore, but they are going to send me the 2021 to replace it. So I think that is maybe, I don't know, like if it's just happened to me personally or if it's an issue with the LibTech Orcas. of the base kind of coming apart from the top sheet. But yeah, it did happen to me. So sent the board back in for warranty. So funny pranks gone wrong says, how do split boards actually work? So split boards work by, so you can imagine hiking a mountain. If you're hiking a mountain, a lot of times, if you're just hiking in your boots, every time you take a step, your foot's going to sink. And on top of that, you have to carry your snowboard on your back. So what a split board does is you strap your split board to your feet. It breaks apart into two skis. So then as you're walking through the snow, the length of the ski is actually keeping you on top of the snow, so you're not sinking. And you also attach what is called a skin to the bottom of the split board. And it's kind of like a carpet material that sticks to the bottom of the ski. And so as you're walking, the ski doesn't slide backwards, you only slide forwards. So with the skin on and the length of the ski, it makes it really easy for walking through the snow. So that's what the ski sort of mode of splitboarding, how that works. And it works great. And so it allows you to walk through the snow to the top of the mountain without sinking. And then once you get to the top, you put the two skis back together into one board, and the bindings actually come off, and then they turn, and then you put them back together into snowboard mode. So you have two ways of attaching your bindings. One way is like ski mode. So you attach your bindings like sort of vertical with the ski so that you can walk in ski mode, and then you can take them off and put them on horizontal to be in snowboard mode. So yeah, split boards are really cool. Check out some of the videos on the channel where I explain like how to take apart and put together your split board. And yeah, they're super fun if you like hiking in the mountains. Dirty Napkins wants to know, what's your favorite snowboard spot in California? So I've been snowboarding 3 places in California, North Star at Tahoe, Mammoth Mountain, and Big Bear. And of those 3, like, they're all very different, but my favorite was Big Bear. I had like a really fun time riding the park at Big Bear. I also, in Mammoth, I had an amazing time, a couple of really fun powder days, but the Big Bear experience was like really special for the park riding. And then in North Star was really fun. The park was great there too, but I went there when it was like a really bad snow year, so there wasn't very much snow. So I didn't really have the ideal like big North Star experience. But yeah, I love snowboarding in California. Definitely plan to do a lot more over the years for sure. And El Stacker wants to know, what is your next video? Oh, awesome, man. So the next video will probably be of the snowboard hike tomorrow. So we're going to attempt to hike a mountain right here, like beside, not too far from my house, called Sprout Mountain. And it's a decent size hike, and it takes us right to the top of the mountain into the Alpine. And that's going to be a difficult hike, but it's going to be worth it, I think, for the snow. So that'll be the next video, I think, will be of the hike to the top of the mountain here in Whistler. El Stacker, what's your next video, man? I watched your last video of the breakfast video. It was really good. I like that one a lot, El Stacker. Stevie G says, hey Kevin, any suggestions for my first all mountain board? Capita Mercury or Burton Custom? Any thoughts on Nitro? Is that for tricks? Any other good suggestions for a board to last me a few years? Yeah, like I think that a board for your first all mountain board is kind of tough to say because everyone likes sort of different things. But yeah, it's like if you want a board that is just going to be able to do, it depends on your level too. So intermediate wise, if you're like an intermediate rider and you like riding all over the resort, so something like the Burton Custom Flying V is like a pretty cool board because the rocker between your feet and also towards the tips of the board make it pretty forgiving and make it decent in powder. It gives you like that balance between stability and forgiveness. So yeah, if you're sort of an intermediate rider and you want to be able to do a bit of everything, a board like the Burton Custom is good. But a lot of brands have boards that are similar to that. So a lot of the Libtech and GNU boards also have the same type of Flying V, I guess, profile with like the rocker mixed in with camber. So you can check out other boards like that. But if you're not interested in learning switch and you want to go only in one direction, some of the boards, they have what's called like, I guess, directional cam rocker. So camber towards the back and then rocker towards the nose. So if you're thinking about primarily riding in one direction, maybe look into some boards that have that. There's some Burton boards out there like the Deep Thinker. That's like a directional board that has camber towards the back and then the nose rockers towards the front. And a lot of different brands have that similar quality as well, like Jones, some of the Nitro boards, and also the Capita as well. So yeah, just look around. But yes, it's hard to say because I don't know like what exactly your level is and where like you really want to be riding. But yeah, that's like a good start where you're at. All right. So Nick says, what are your tips on doing jumps on ramps? Even though I do jumps regularly, I still feel kind of wonky landing the jump. Yeah, that's a good question, man. So I think you can look at a few different things that like go into the jump. So one thing is like, what's your body placement when you're taking off from the jump? You want to make sure that your shoulders are square to your snowboard. That's going to give you like the best balance for the landing and being in the air. Also, it's like, are you bending your knees when you're in the air? Because when you bend your knees, it gives you more stability too. So having your knees bent, feeling balanced, having your shoulders squared up to your snowboard, all those things give you good balance. And then also like, how good are you at dealing with speed? Because when you land the jump, you're going to be landing it with more speed than you take off. So make sure that you're confident with riding with a bit of speed and using your edges, your heel and toe equally to control yourself and slow you down. Because a lot of times, like the landing, what happens is people want to slam the brakes on too hard, and that can cause you to have a wonky landing. So being able to control yourself, heels and toes, that's a really good skill to have too. So make sure your shoulders are square to your board, you're bending your knees, and that you're really confident controlling your speed with your heels and toes. And I think if you do those three things, then it should help you to have better jumps. And Wayne McKenzie with the super chat, thanks for the support. Wayne says, about the distance between your bindings, is it supposed to be from the board up to your knee? Yeah, so I've seen some people measure it that way. So they do, I guess with a measuring tape, you can measure from from the ground or from your snowboard up to your knee, and that should be the width of your stance. But I don't know, that's not always true, because obviously everyone's got different, some people have longer legs than others, and some people have long torsos and shorter legs. So it's kind of like variable a bit like that, but that's kind of like a good guide. So you could start there. So start by measuring that distance and then setting your bindings up, but then also just getting into that stance and then seeing if it's comfortable. So for me, my stance has changed, where my stance used to be wider because I felt like when it was wider, I had more stability. But then over the years, my stance has actually gotten a bit more narrow, because I find that with my stance a little bit narrower than I used to ride it, I feel like I can use my knees a little bit more for steering. So there's a trade-off there. Some people have wider stances for stability, but then you sacrifice your like how you can use your knees to steer. So a little bit narrower and you can use your knees more. So I would say try to start with the length from the board to your knee as like a guide, and then you can make it a little bit wider or a little bit narrower depending on your preference. But the main thing is that when you're riding, you want to be able to use your knees to steer your board, but then you also want it to be wide enough so that you feel like stable and you're not going to like tip over, because with your feet too close together, you can definitely sort of like fall over more easily. You have less like it raises your center of gravity with your feet too close, but then you also don't want it too wide where you can't use your knees. So yeah, start that as a guide and then make adjustments from there. Old Man Shredder saying, how is Chris doing? Been silent on his channel for a while. Yeah, hopefully Chris will get out some different type of content soon. I feel like it's kind of funny because snowboard season, sometimes it's like it can be difficult for people to like keep snowboarding all year round. So I think he may have some other type of videos coming out, maybe some mountain bike videos or skateboard videos. So I think yeah, we'll see what happens with Chris and that stuff. But yeah, I'm sure Chris will be getting out some videos sometime soon. So Kier 1984 is saying, are LibTechs good for beginners or are they too fast down the mountain? No, there's definitely some good. I feel like LibTech, I think rocker is really good for beginners, and LibTech does have a lot of rocker type snowboards. So I think they have 3 different base profiles, about 3. But the first one is like full rocker, which is like can be good for beginners because it makes it you can do quicker turns with a rocker base. And then the second one is their C2 base profile. So it combines camber under your feet with rocker between your feet and towards the tips. And that's also, I think, good for beginners too. So yeah, I think LibTechs are great for beginners because of rocker. I think rocker is good for beginners. Also, I think magnet traction is good for beginners too. So the edge of the board is wavy, kind of like a serrated edge, and it gives you more grip on icy patches. So yeah, I think LibTechs are good for beginners for sure. Lucas wants to know, what is your favorite graphic on a board? Good question, man. So I've had a bunch of favorites in the past, but looking at boards for next season, a couple of my favorites. One is the Kazu board by Capita. That's got some really cool looking like Japanese art on it. So I like that one a lot. Also the Spring Break, I think it's called the Spring Break Pow Racer snowboard. And it's got some really funky sort of art on it. It's kind of got like a white top sheet with some triangles. And I'm digging some of like the black, like the full like blacked out boards as well. So the Jones Ultramind Expander and the Jones Ultramind Mind Expander, how it's got kind of like the wood grain with like the blacked out look. I think that looks pretty nice as well. So yeah, there's a few. All right. Yeah, quick shout out. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in. If you're tuning in late, give this video a like if you can. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell to get notified every time I do one of these live chats. But yeah, big shout out again for everyone tuning in. Yeah, I hope everyone's doing good out there. If you're tuning in late, yeah, let us know where you guys are watching from. I'm here in Whistler, BC, Canada. And also let us know where if there's any snowboarding where you're at. So here in Whistler, we have some snow on the tops of the mountains. The resorts are closed. They normally would still be open, but they've closed early. But yeah, let us know what is happening in your area. I know in South America, a lot of the resorts, or South America, New Zealand, and Australia, the snowboard season is coming up, so that's really exciting. But yeah, in North America, it's becoming more difficult in the Northern Hemisphere, but some people also have indoor slopes. So yeah, let us know what's been going on. And Old Man Shredder with another super chat. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Says, what would be things to think of hitting hip jumps? Okay, so things to think about when hitting a hip jump. I think the main thing for a hip jump is that you want to land at the top of the hip. So the hip jump is kind of funny because you would think that to go small, you want to go off, like you want to take off of the lowest part, but then that's also where the flattest landing is. So even as like a beginner or like, your first time hitting a hip and you want to go really small, you still want to go off right at the peak of the hip. And even if you don't get much air, then that is where you're going to get the best landing, is right at the top. So that's my biggest tip for hip jumps, is go off at the top and land at the top, and you can make it as small or as big as you want. And then my next tip would be to like guide your landing with your front shoulder. So for me, if it's a right side hip, like a toe side hip, I'm like coming up with my shoulder like pointed straight, and then to like land properly on the landing, I'm actually pointing my front shoulder down towards the landing. And I feel like by leading with my shoulder, it sets me up to land properly on the downslope of the landing on the hip. So those are my, I think, two most important tips: is take off at the top and land at the top, and angle your board for the landing by like pointing your shoulder towards where you want to land. So yeah, good question, Old Man Shredder. Hotshot 1130 saying, any tips for a 50-50 on a rail? I have done it once, but I turned before the box and slowed down a ton. And once I got stuck on the middle of a box, LOL, I'm scared about slipping backwards. And it says box, not rail. So yeah, definitely, if you can, go back to some of the videos I've done on how to 50-50. I've got some tips on there for you. But I would say first, go outside of the park and find like a flat run where you can just practice doing a few speed checks and then letting your board go straight and flat across a patch of snow, and do that as like far as you can. So picking up some speed, letting your board go straight and flat before doing a couple speed check turns to slow yourself down. And if you can do that for like a few runs of just practicing riding straight and flat across the snow, then that's going to get you ready for the box. Because for the box, you do need a little bit of speed to help you get that momentum to get to the end. And you also need to have like a good approach. So line yourself up. So when you do go into the park, start by lining yourself above the box, like sort of like, so it's like straight on with you. And as you come in, like plan it out. So you do a couple speed checks and then like just point your board, give yourself enough space that you can point your board straight and flat towards the box. And if you've done that practice outside the park first, then when you take it inside the park, you do a couple speed checks, you give yourself some space, you point yourself straight and flat towards it, then you're going to have enough speed and you're going to have like that straight direction so that you can go all the way to the end. And then as you come off, land straight, and then you do a couple small speed checks, just like you were practicing outside the park, to slow yourself down. So yeah, give that a try. Practice lots outside the park, and then take those same things inside the park. Here's a really cool question from StokeDog8 saying, how would you compare ski resorts in New Zealand to ones in America? Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, there's not really many resorts in North America like the mountains in New Zealand. Like New Zealand is very unique and special in that you have to like drive your car to the top of the mountain to get to the resort. So that's like very unique and special to New Zealand. And there's not much that compares to it. Yeah, it's very unique. I think the North America probably gets more snow, but New Zealand has got some like really cool terrain because it's like all alpine. And that's the other big difference. Like in North America, a lot of the resorts will have trees, where in New Zealand, there's no trees. It's just like the alpine conditions. So if you've been to North America and you've been to like a mountain that has an alpine area, that's kind of what New Zealand is like, except in New Zealand, you can't take a chairlift to the top of the mountain. You actually have to drive up there. So that's it's pretty cool. I would say the closest thing to New Zealand snowboarding is kind of like Mount Hood in Oregon, where you do like, same with that Mount Hood, you do kind of drive your car halfway up the mountain. But even then there's still like lots of trees and it's a bit of a different layout. So yeah, New Zealand's very special. It's pretty cool. Robert asks, are you buying your gear for next season now since everything is on sale? Or when is the best time to buy gear for next season? Yeah, I would say that from now until I think it's like early October, there's a lot of good sales on 2020 snowboard gear. So this previous season. So now is like a really good time to pick up 2020 gear. And throughout the year, like either snowboard shops or websites will have like random sale weekends. So yeah, you can definitely get some boards or like any gear for like half price at least. So yeah, it's a really good time to be buying snowboard gear from like now until like October. But you're going to get 2020 gear, which most brands, like their gear that comes out year after year is like very similar, or if not exactly the same. So if you want to save some money, definitely, yeah, buy some gear before the season starts and buy it that is the previous winter's stuff. And you can get a really good deal for sure. Yeah, Kaz saying our season in Australia about to begin in May, but though maybe a few weeks delay. Unfortunately, no international staff or visitors will get in this year. Oh no, don't tell me that. So I can't go snowboarding in Australia. Okay. Well, maybe that'll change, but yeah, that'll be a real bummer if nobody from outside of, I hope that same thing doesn't happen the other way. I hope that international people can come to Canada and the US next year, but yeah, I guess we'll have to see what happens. Yeah, that's a bummer. But I hope everyone in Australia gets a good season. That's the main thing. El Stacker is saying, smash the like button. Awesome. Thank you, man. Fatty Homir saying, best snowboard channel on YouTube. Awesome. Thank you, man. Thanks so much. Brian saying, hey, Kevin, thinking of getting an Orca. When you rode yours on powder, did you ride it on reference or set your stance back? Love your channel / content. Yeah, you can ride it in like the reference just because the stance is like naturally set back. So, but I believe I can't remember if I set it even further back. I believe I did ride it in the reference because yeah, the stance is naturally set back, but yeah, super fun board. I hope you enjoy it. Your Shoes asking, hey, Kevin, do you think the mountain will open up? The mountains. So I don't think the mountains around here will open anytime soon. I think the closest thing that I'll have to be able to go snowboarding will maybe be if the US-Canada border opens, I may be able to go down to some of the mountains down there this summer, or maybe Austria, because Austria has been talking about opening to foreigners. So if I can fly into Austria and go snowboarding on a glacier, then that may be the next option. And Board Through the Pain saying Norway just got 44 inches in a bogus last season storm. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I was actually checking out my snow app, snowforecast.com. I have that app on my phone, and it was showing that some parts of Europe were getting a ton of snow this past week. So that's pretty cool. Wayne McKenzie asking Ikon or Epic? Well, for me, I need to get both because Whistler is on the Epic. But I think that if I were to only get one, if I didn't live in Whistler, I would probably get the Ikon, to be honest. There's a lot of places on the Ikon that I really love riding. Revelstoke, Jackson Hole, Big Bear, Niseko, Mammoth. There's probably like a dozen more, but a lot of places I really like to ride are on the Ikon Pass. So if I didn't live in Whistler and I can only pick one, I would probably choose the Ikon. And Lucas wanting to know, how did David come up with Kevin? So David, that actually comes from a student I used to teach here in Whistler. And he was from Mexico, and he used to always call me Kevin. And it was like, he was a hilarious kid. I think he was maybe like 15 years old. What was his name? His name was Eduardo. And Eduardo, he was like a really funny character. And he was the one that called me Kevin. And so we would be learning with Eduardo, we would be going through the terrain park. And if he fell on a jump or a trick or anything, he would say, he used to always say, Kevin, he'd say, Kevin, I got unlucky. And it was never because he didn't do something properly. It was just like bad luck that he fell. So that became a joke between me and Eduardo. And I think I taught him for like 3 or 4 years. And then people I think heard Eduardo calling me Kevin, and then David picked up on that. I think I started too with me calling David. So Michael Castro with the super chat saying, yo, Kevin, I'm trying to get the presses down. I can lean back, no problem, but can't seem to get the board up. Any tips? By the way, Loveland Pass is riding. Oh, wow. Awesome. So Loveland Pass in Colorado is open. So yeah, there's a couple of things that go into the press. There's the main thing, which it sounds like you have, is moving your weight over top of the tail of your board. So like getting your weight over there. But then there's also like tensioning your front foot so that when you're leaning, your front leg isn't just getting stretched out, because then your board will still remain flat. It's kind of like putting your weight into it, but also kind of tensioning that front foot so that your front leg and front foot is coming with you as you lean. So maybe try that. Maybe try it just on the ground, static, like hopping over into your tail press and using some strength to, as you lean into that press, you're taking your board with you. So yeah, give that a try. You don't really want to be lifting your board with your front leg, but you also want to tension it enough that as you lean and as you move that weight, your board is coming with you. So yeah, give that a try. And I hope your board is also soft enough to like allow you to press easily, because if your board is like very stiff, then it makes it like much harder to press. So yeah, make sure you got a softer board and, you know, use some of that strength as well to get that board flexed. Three MZ saying, do you watch Warren Miller? When I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of Warren Miller ski videos for sure. I used to work at a Blockbuster Video. They're all gone now, but I used to put on Warren Miller videos when I was at work. L Stacker wants to know waffles or pancakes. I think I would go waffles. Yeah, waffles for sure. Keegan, cake or pie? I would go probably pie. Blueberry pie would be pretty nice. Awesome. All right. Awesome, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Yeah, if you guys have any more questions that I missed, just leave them for me down below in the comment section, and I'll answer them after the live chat. But yeah, big thanks to everyone for hopping on. I hope you guys are all, you know, doing well out there, being safe, getting some time to be outdoors, getting some exercise in, or snowboarding, going for a hike or anything like that. But yeah, tomorrow, the next video coming on the channel is going to be myself and Andreas doing a hike here in Whistler. So really excited to get outside, be on the mountain, go for a hike, and hopefully get some good snowboarding in. So excited about that tomorrow. Yeah, and again, just big thanks to everyone for tuning in and do these live chats every Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm going to continue doing them for the foreseeable future. We'll just keep going. But yeah, thank you guys all for the support. Thanks everyone who liked the video. Thanks everyone who subscribed. And thank you to everyone for the super chats. And yeah, big shout out to everyone in Europe for staying up late and watching this with us as well. But yeah, I hope you guys get to go snowboarding soon. I hope things start to open up, and I hope things start going back to normal for all of us. And yeah, the Shred Ship saying, tell Andreas I said what's up. I definitely will, man. Yeah, I'll say hi to Andreas from all you guys. But yeah, thanks again, guys, for watching. And yeah, be safe out there. And I'll see you guys in the next one soon. Bye, everyone.